There it is. It must be. Good morning and welcome to your Wednesday edition of the Morning Jog. My name is Matt Cohan, and I am joined as always by two of my favorite internet jesters, Francis Ellis and Robbie Berger. Jesters, are we refreshed after the long weekend?
I'm okay. From my end, I'm okay. I don't know if Francis would say the same. He's got some sort of situation going on over there.
I'm cold. I'm freezing. Maine's cold, but lovely, but cold.
Fireside chats with Francis Ellis.
I'm wrapped in a blanket, a homespun blanket made by probably a widower, I would guess. Somebody who lost a husband at sea.
All right, all you listeners at home, we hope you guys are fresh-faced as well. And if you aren't, Khloe Kardashian has you covered. Miss Kardashian posted an Instagram photo this weekend, which typically wouldn't be news if she hadn't gotten a totally new face. We'll get a picture up there for you. She's exchanged faces before, but this may be the most drastic yet. Some are saying her face is like iOS because it gets updates every year. Others saying if she entered a Khloe Kardashian lookalike contest, she wouldn't even be in the top 10. What is Francis Ellis saying?
I think when you're known as the ugly one for so many years, you'd be willing to spend any amount of money to rearrange that rhetoric. And by that, I mean your face. I had a nose job once, not for aesthetic purposes, but because I once got punched in the face by a lobsterman wearing Timberland boots, and he shattered my septum so severely that I could not do cocaine out of my left nostril. And it gets to you. And I'll tell you, those facial surgeries are no walk in the park. It was 4 days of hell. Felt like you had those cinnamon spicy gobstoppers stuffed up deep in your nose, and that they were just melting and burning in your face. So look, if the fountain of youth is just money, so be it. I think her new face looks a lot better than her old face, so good for her. Go for it. If you can afford it, why not look better?
It's amazing that's the nose they settled on with you, Francis. Was this a bar fight?
It was right outside of a pizza joint. He kicked me in the face, and he nailed it. I mean,
what was the impetus? If you don't mind, sorry to keep you waiting, Robbie.
Yeah, no, I don't mind taking a little extra time to see what happened here.
I was coming to the aid of some guys that I was like very peripherally friends with. I was catching up with them. We had played sports against each other in high school. And I was with my friends, and I spotted these guys, and I went to say hi to them. And when I did, I sat down in a pizza booth with them. This was after the bars had closed. And in walked these 2 or 3 women who were really like angry with each other, and they were fighting themselves. And then one of the guys I was with was like, "Oh, look, it's the Jersey Shore." And then one of their boyfriends came over, and he was like, "Don't talk about my girlfriend that way." And then the dude was the guy I knew was like, "Keep your dogs on a leash" or something. And then the big guy punched him in the face, and his nose exploded all over the pizza, which we wanted to eat. And then we were like, you can't do that, but we didn't know what to do because we'd all gone to private school. So we were like, whose dad's turn is it to sue? And we couldn't figure that out. And then we tried to get out of the booth in a hurry, which is really hard because your knees bang against the underside of the booth, which meant we were already at a disadvantage. And then as a result, he and his big lobsterman buddies just beat the crap out of us. It was very one-sided. So that was my my big loss in my fight column. I'm 1-1-1 in fist fights.
You would think that Khloe Kardashian's face surgery did a lot of damage for her. The Jersey Shore did more damage for people like myself from Jersey than you could ever imagine. It's like the one thing where you say it, and it's supposed to be one of the best parts about New Jersey. And if you say it, it's such a diss now to say it, and people get upset till where next thing you know, Francis gets clocked in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Khloe Kardashian, I think any time one of the Kardashian sisters get a surgery, the stock that goes up would be Kendall Jenner. Because it seems like Kendall Jenner is one of the only people in that family that hasn't had the surgeries.
Wrong. I'm going to call you there, Robbie, because
Yeah.
you should have done your research before this. I'll throw up a picture on here, but they've all been through the ringer, dude. And
Sure have.
To what degree, though? To what degree did Kendall Jenner get it to?
Dude, I think her lips have more flotation devices. I mean, you want to sit next to her on a plane if you're worried that it's going down. You know what I mean? Like, she's your life raft.
But what bothers me too, like with Khloe, I thought Khloe was making a pretty good comeback. No matter what surgery it was, I thought she was fine. Now she's almost unrecognizable, and it's just scary to think what the damage that's going to already be done by the time she's 50, 60. Kylie Jenner too. I just don't know how much money you can have to where it gets to the point where enough is enough.
Let me ask you this. Is Khloe Kardashian the one who was with Tristan Thompson?
yes.
Correct.
You know, Tristan Thompson was famous for his offensive rebounds, and I could say that this facial surgery is a very offensive rebound for her. I just don't see, I don't see her coming back from this.
I view it as kind of like, it's like in her industry, this is all it is. It's kind of like Tiger if getting a new 9-iron. If there's a better product on the market,
Or a new
you're gonna
back.
seek that product out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even or a new back. You know how many different backs Tiger Woods has had throughout the years?
Yeah.
Poignant point, Robert.
No, and Matt, your point is very valid. It's like I remember watching the documentary about the great Julian Edelman on Showtime, where Portnoy actually was like, "Look, if I knew that I only had 7 or 8 year window to make as much money as I possibly could before my body would no longer support this profession, I would take every banned substance I would take everything anyone would hand me to try to prolong and maximize my performance."
Yep.
And this is her PED. A facelift, a nose job, a chin tuck, whatever the hell, vaginoplasty. That is the HGH for Instagram thoughts.
I wish she had just come out and said, "New face, bitch," like instead of being like, "All right,
Own it.
Own it.
yeah, own it."
Own it. I totally agree with that. I really do. Own it.
The problem is there's such a stigma. Like, I know these women, to be the feminist that I am, these women face such recrimination whenever they're like, yeah, this is all natural. And everyone's like, no, you got this. And people get mad. It's like, look, if you live in Orange County and you're a yoga mom, you're getting this stuff too. And nobody cares.
Right.
They celebrate it.
Mm-hmm. Feminist Francis. We're going to pin it on that and move on to our next one. From Khloe Kardashian's face to her favorite thing, NBA players, fellas. Charles Barkley.
Great transition.
Thank you. Charles Barkley said he played a game drunk for the 76ers in 1992 after a Lakers trade fell through. He said on ESPN's The Low podcast, quote, "My agent called me one morning and he says, 'Hey, you're going to get traded to the Lakers today.' And me and my friends, we go out and celebrate and get drunk about noon. I'm on cloud 9. He calls me back 3 hours later. And it's 3:30 now, and he says the Sixers backed out of the deal, and I'm drunk as shit, and we got a game that night. I don't know how I played that night," Barkley said. "I think I might have played bad because I was so angry the Sixers didn't pull the trigger, and then it was just suffering for the next 2-3 years." Robbie, you're a huge Chuck guy. I know this about you. How does this sit with you?
I mean, if you thought the Michael Jordan documentary, the Last Dance documentary was good, try doing a Charles Barkley documentary. You wouldn't be able to recap any titles or championships, any of that good stuff. The stories you would get from Charles Barkley career, not just in the NBA, even outside of it, transitioning into his pregame show, all of that good stuff. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I think he's one of the best things for TV. And as far as that story cracks you up, not the least bit surprised. It's a Charles Barkley story. And I think more than anybody, Charles Barkley needs his own documentary. It would be gold.
Yeah, I totally agree. We cherish Charles Barkley. I think he is one of those uncancelable people. You know, he can sort of say whatever he wants, and he's earned that right. I will say, have you guys ever tried to exercise drunk?
Yes, I've ran drunk. I've ran drunk.
I'm not talking about like, you know, running down the blocks in a sprint race against your buddy. I'm talking like you have multiple beers,
Yeah.
IPAs, and then try to play a full men's league basketball game.
Yep, Chelsea Piers. I have. It's no good.
It is one of the worst experiences a human can suffer. It is so brutal. So brutal.
You're just sweating before tip.
Can't move. You cannot move. It's as if you had a cheeseburger eating contest right before. I'm talking 2 beers, by the way, not 7 or 8. 2 beers, and you go try to play like whistles and you're airballing free throws. You're laughing.
Yeah.
And Charles Barkley's not drinking a Bud Light. He is drinking an IPA.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's drinking a Guinness and having a plate of onion rings on the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's aside from the gastrointestinal.
Oh God.
Just
It's so-
hammering
Look
it.
what they got to do. They got to get footage of this game and just play it as if it's an ESPN classic that they've been doing 3 months, and just put the spotlight on Barkley throughout the entire game. I mean, the views you would get from that would be exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, I think it's like pretty I mean, actually, weed is probably way more common, but they said Matt Barnes said he was like, all my best games, I was medicated. But I mean, getting drunk in any sport aside from baseball is just, it's a suicide mission.
Oh.
I also don't know if I believe Matt Barnes when he says that. That sounds like something he would say to try to like get people to like him more.
Yeah.
Matt Barnes had one of the worst tempers in the NBA. Do you really think that dude was out there like sativa'd up?
Yeah.
You know,
Who gets that mad from a hybrid? You know what I mean?
he's in like the podcast game too,
Yeah.
and every now and then you hear just a bizarre story from like a Matt Barnes. So you almost think he's kind of just pulling shit out of his ass at this point because he's kind of
Yeah.
run out of material.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt it.
Seems like a fibber to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, the transition to our third and final story, fellas. I'm going to ask you guys to whip out your gavels and decide who is wrong in the lawsuit between Noah Syndergaard and a New York City landlord, fellas. According to the lawsuit, the landlord is asking Syndergaard to pay $250,000 for breach of contract and associated fees after Noah leased a property in February with the rental agreement running from March through November at a cost of $225,000 plus a $17,000 broker commission. Syndergaard's attorneys informed the landlord on April 30th that because the pandemic is hitting NYC hard, Syndergaard has no intention of staying there and he can rent to another tenant. Syndergaard defended himself on Twitter saying, "So let's get this straight. I fairly and in good faith offered to pay 2 months rent over $50,000 to a landlord for a place I was never going to step foot in due to a global pandemic that took a severe toll upon the residents of NYC, gave timely notice to attempt to try to re-rent while getting Tommy John and living in Florida for rehab, and then landlord tries to extort me for $250,000 while leaking the story to the media, and I'm the bad guy. Yeah, okay, see you in court, pal." Francis, you know that renting in New York is an absolute shit show. Who is to blame here?
Look, here's the thing. The very people who are coming after Noah Syndergaard for voicing his distaste for this and wanting to get out of his rental agreement are the same people that started the hashtag cancel rent movement on Twitter and who are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pay my rent because I've like lost my job or whatever. And I get that, and that's sad, but don't be a hypocrite. There's nothing I hate more than hypocrisy. You cannot get mad at an MLB pitcher just because and say like, you signed this. It's an agreement. It's called a contract. you owe them the money. Like, you can't do that and then be like, I don't know how to pay my rent. I can't pay. You know, his $250,000 rent, yes, he can afford it, right? But it's still probably a similar percentage of his like net worth. You know, it's an insane apartment that someone paying $2,000 a month on a $100,000 a year salary is dealing with. So I understand, and I think that Noah Syndergaard has to have a better sense of self-awareness and not tweet this kind of stuff, because rich people don't get sympathy over things like this. But at the same time, I think he's just as entitled to like try to cancel his rent as all these people who are trying to cancel their rent. You know what I mean?
You know what? And it's true. I think where he went south was tweeting.
Yeah.
I think he would have been better off if he didn't tweet. New York sports media is as harsh comes. And when you put them in a quarantine with nothing to do and nothing to talk about, and you bring this upon yourself, it's going to be brutal. By the way, Noah Syndergaard, who didn't have a great year for the Mets, if he would have had a good year last year, and if he wasn't constantly getting hurt, New York fans would be trashing this landlord. It would be the end of the landlord. But because he had a bad year and because a not so great year, they are just going to continue to roast this guy. And this is what the New York media does. So it's the worst time for it to happen to Syndergaard. And I think, I'm not sure, Matt, you can fact check me if you want to. I think he's a free agent next year. So you wonder if this is going to affect teams wanting to give Syndergaard a contract if he can't hold to it.
Yeah, it's also interesting, like the people who like are like, oh, this rich guy should be paying, aren't recognizing that this landlord is probably way richer than Syndergaard. Like,
True.
This isn't a
Very
studio
true.
in Bushwick. This is a fucking $250,000 rental. You know, I agree with you, Francis. You know what? You guys had a lot of great takes today.
We
and it
did.
makes me want to be better at what I do.
Yeah, keep trying. The last thing I would say is, you know, how different do you think the reaction to Syndergaard is if he's on the Yankees as opposed to the Mets? Because Mets fans are so miserable, right, that of course they're going to latch on to one of their players who they think is overpaid and underperforming, as always, you know, having a complaint about this. Whereas a Yankees fan, I just feel like there are a lot of rich Yankees fans who are like, yeah, you know, he shouldn't have to pay his rent. Like,
I guarantee you the Yankees organization would have cut a check to Noah Syndergaard's landlord, and that would have been the end of that. That would have been the end of that.
Yeah, very true.
And pin in it.
That's it.
Thank you, guys. Wednesday edition of the Morning Jog. We're back here same time, same place tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Love you. Peace.